John Bush here with the Uncoinventional Living Tour West, my family's trip across the country using Bitcoin only. For today's podcast update, I'm going to play for you an interview that I did with the CEO of CheapAir.com, Jeff Klee. He's also the founder. CheapAir.com started off specializing in flights. They now do hotels, and they were the first business to book flights and hotels using Bitcoin. So the cool thing about them is they're not in it just for the added business and the lower transaction fees. They're in it because they truly believe in Bitcoin, as you'll hear from this interview. So without further ado, I'm going to play this interview for you with Jeff Klee, CEO and founder of CheapAir.com. We're here with Jeff Klee. He's the CEO and founder of CheapAir, which is an online travel agency essentially that has been accepting Bitcoin and was the first to accept Bitcoin for flights, I believe, and hotels. Which is pretty exciting. And not only are they accepting it for obviously all the financial benefits that comes with a business accepting Bitcoin, but they seem to be pretty excited about it. Even run a blog of people of Bitcoin, and they're bought in all the way when it comes to Bitcoin. So we're going to chat with Jeff about what went into making that decision and CheapAir in general, and how people can utilize Bitcoin and CheapAir for their travel needs. So thanks for sitting down with us today, and just want to start by thanking you. We use the service all the time. We did on our first Uncoinventional Bitcoin only tour, and we're using it over and over on this trip as well. And I also want to thank you for your support to help us get out there and encourage more people to use Bitcoin. So maybe we could start by just, you could tell us how CheapAir came about. I understand you founded the company in 1989 from a college dorm room.
Yeah, it was a very different world then, a very different company. It was pre-internet, and I was in college, and I was going on a backpacking trip to Europe with some friends one summer, and one of the guys I was going with, he had worked in travel agencies before, so he was kind of familiar with discount airline ticket markets and some wholesalers who buy blocks of seats and sell them. So we kind of finagled our own tickets by pretending to be travel agents, and we got these great discount flights to Europe on Pan Am, I remember, and we came back. It was about half summer long, the trip, and in order to kind of earn some money to pay back what we just spent, we figured, why don't we try playing around with these tickets and selling these discount Europe tickets.
Cool.
And we did it, and I was never supposed to be doing this for this long, but here I am.
Awesome. So we found you're pretty good at it. Now, your company stood the test of time and grown and evolved. What are some of the contributions? What do you contribute to the fact that you guys are still here today and still thriving as a business?
I mean, I think one, being very nimble and not being too hung up on any particular way of doing things or any particular business model. I mean, we've changed so much. The industry has changed so much. So what we are today is nothing like what we were when we started.
Okay, tell us about some of the services that you offer to just customers in general right now.
Well, there are two parts of our business. CheapAir.com is our more for retail travel and individuals. We also do a lot in the corporate world with Amtrav, which is our corporate travel management company. But on the CheapAir side, we're really, obviously we're focused on saving people money on flights, but we also we try to provide a lot more information and advice. We put out research papers several times a year about the best time to buy tickets, the best days of the week to fly on. We have blog. People can post on our blog any question of where they're going, when they asking us what the best time is. We'll answer them all. Have a real person answering them.
Cool.
When you buy a ticket from us, you get an email from an actual human being, a travel agent who will be there if you need extra help. And we're always trying. I mean, Bitcoin's a good example. We're trying to find ways to serve people who might not be perfectly served by the existing channels.
Sure. Yeah, and we've experienced nothing but awesomeness, to say the least, with your customer service. And we had a couple hang-ups on the last trip, and just one phone call away, instantly talking with someone. They stepped us all the way through it. That wasn't the same case with some of the competition when we had problems, but with CheapAir, it was always consistently good customer service, which makes a huge difference
Well, I'm glad to hear that. We really try, and we put a lot of energy into that.
So you're big on innovation. Y'all revolutionized some technology that had to do with making searches easier on the web, and also the first voice-activated iOS app.
Yeah.
Tell me, how did Bitcoin come into the picture? I understand you're the one that kind of brought that along.
Yeah, well, it actually, I kind of spearheaded it, but the idea didn't come from me. It came from a customer, and we were having a meeting, and it was brought up that by one of our call center managers that, hey, someone asked if they could pay in Bitcoin, and this was in early 2013.
Cool.
And I'll be honest, I didn't know a whole lot about Bitcoin. I'd read about it. I had been intrigued by it, but didn't think too much of it until I heard that, and then I thought, well, wow, if there are a bunch of people out there who, like this customer, who would like to pay in Bitcoin, maybe we can do it. Maybe we could be the first to take Bitcoin. So I did some research, and I was really pleasantly surprised at how easy it would be to integrate. We've been, since the beginning of our website, we take Western Union payments. For someone, believe it or not, there are still people who want to go somewhere and pay cash at a Western Union office.
Old school.
So we had this infrastructure in place to accept non-credit cards, and we were able to kind of leverage that. And we literally built the whole thing in 3 days.
Awesome. You said you were skeptical at first, or a little unsure. What are some of your initial thoughts? Some of your hesitations, so to speak, about Bitcoin?
It wasn't that I was hesitant about Bitcoin. I was skeptical that it would really bring in a whole lot of business. I didn't know how many people out there who were out there who were using Bitcoin, and so I didn't expect. I had low expectations, and I figured, well, hey, it's only a few days of work, so whatever happens, happens, and nice. Maybe Bitcoin will take off. But I was really surprised that almost immediately we got we were able to gain some traction, and I think the Bitcoin community has been great. They're very loyal, and and without a doubt, it's brought in new customers.
Awesome. That
we probably wouldn't have gotten otherwise.
That's great. Do you have any? Can you reference any numbers or statistics on how many Bitcoin transactions came in the first little bit?
Well, we, in the early days, I can't remember. We were getting. I think probably like 5 a day from day one, and I literally thought it would be one a week. So awesome. not that I was getting rich off of it, but it was cool to see. So now it's been just about a year, and we've done about $2 million in Bitcoin sales.
That's significant.
So
awesome. As an entrepreneur, do you place a special importance on the ability to take risks? Because not everyone in larger businesses, nationwide businesses with large customer bases are willing to try something that's so new and that kind of has a strange reputation out there in the mass public. How important do you think it is to take these calculated risks in being a successful entrepreneur?
I think it's important. Obviously there are, in the travel space, it's really competitive, and we're not the biggest player. There's some really huge brands that we compete with. So I think we have to try to differentiate ourselves, and I think by doing things that others, airlines and some of the big OTAs would be slow to do, by one, being able to do it fast, and two, just being willing to do it, I think that is an advantage for us, and we try to take advantage of those opportunities whenever we think of them.
Cool. And so y'all were the first for flights and the first for hotels, and since then Expedia began accepting Bitcoin for hotels only, I believe. And you mentioned earlier that an airline may be in the works?
Yeah, I had a conversation with someone I know at a major U.S. airline. Wow. I can't say who it is, but they are really close to accepting Bitcoin.
Awesome. Now, you believe in Bitcoin just outside of its as an instrument to take payment. How important do you think it is for these larger firms to go ahead and become early adopters? Because I think Bitcoin's been around for 5-6 years, but we're still in the early pioneer phases. So there's a lot of people that are still going to come around What role do you think your business and other businesses like Dish Network or Dell perhaps, what role are y'all playing in helping to garner this adoption?
Yeah, I think that, I think I am proud of the fact that I think, we got a lot of attention when we started accepting it, and I think we definitely planted some seeds in some other companies, bigger companies than we are, who can have more of an impact. Expedia takes it now, and that got a lot of people's attention when a major brand like Expedia embraces Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good thing. And yeah, in the short term, we lose a few hotel sales to them, but over the long term, anything that makes Bitcoin seen as more legitimate by people who might be skeptical is a good thing. Because we want to grow the pot. We want Bitcoin to be a much more commonly used form of payment, which I think is good for everyone.
Awesome. What are some of the reasons why you think Bitcoin is beneficial for your business or other businesses? You mentioned earlier that you can't believe how the banks can continually get away with all these high fees and all sorts of stuff.
I think, and this one really doesn't affect us because we're not actually the merchant of record. We pass it on to the airlines, so we don't really get any savings by taking Bitcoin. However, I think just as a consumer, there's about a 3% cost of processing credit card transactions that is embedded in everything that we buy. And that's a relic from a time when credit cards used to be swiped and they're manual receipts, but it hasn't changed. And to process, we sell a $1,000 ticket, and even though it's not us, an airline's paying $25 about to process that. And it's 2014. That is crazy to me. And the banks have gotten away with it because they're the only game in town, but they don't have to be. And I think Bitcoin is a real viable challenge for them that I hope one motivates them to modernize it a bit, but also I think Bitcoin can gain traction in its own right.
Yeah, and there's no getting around the market forces whereby Bitcoin is genuinely a superior technology to a lot of the old legacy institutions that are becoming more and more archaic. And I think it's only a matter of time before they have no choice but to adopt Bitcoin, or else they'll get left in the dust.
Well, that's the other thing. Besides the savings on merchant fees, there are lots of benefits of Bitcoin. That we see. One, we want as little friction as possible in our checkout process, and both as someone who has a website, but also as a consumer, a form where you have to put. In order to pay by credit card, you got to put in the credit card number, the expiration date, the security code, the address, all these things. And on a phone, it's particularly tedious.
Yeah.
Bitcoin, you can do it in one click or one tap. So that's a huge advantage. And even with all that information that you're required for credit cards, they still, as a merchant, fraud is a huge problem. Not just in terms of being victims of fraud, but the steps we have to go through and the expense we have to incur to prevent fraud or try to prevent fraud is crazy. And with Bitcoin, there are no chargebacks, and we love that.
Yep. Yeah, it's faster, it's cheaper, it's safer and more secure. It's awesome. We're really excited about Bitcoin.
I'm preaching to the choir.
Yeah, that's right. To pack up and travel across the country on Bitcoin. So yeah, we use CheapAir over and over every other day, it seems, and it's literally just finding your hotel, click and pay with Bitcoin, and then the Coinbase QR code comes up. You scan it, and it's literally almost instantly approved, which is awesome. There's a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners that may be hesitant to adopt Bitcoin because they think it'll be a headache to integrate with their point of sale or to deal with a new technology. They're used to credit cards, and in my opinion, if you train someone with credit cards compared to training them with Bitcoin, it's actually easier if they're fresh. But maybe you could talk about, as the CEO and as you overseeing this whole transition to accepting Bitcoin, were there any hurdles? Were there any difficulties? What did that process look like? And if you could speak to potential businesses that may be on the fence of accepting it.
Well, I think when I talk to other businesses, the question I always get is the currency fluctuation, and everyone's read about the Bitcoin rising and falling, and they say, well, aren't you taking a big risk? And and the reality is we don't. We use Coinbase as our processor, and for the most part we do keep a reserve of Bitcoin, but most of what we sell is converted to dollars, which has to be because we have to pay the airlines right away, and
Sure.
and they only take dollars. So I think from an educational standpoint, it seems like most merchants or prospective merchants who would accept Bitcoin don't know that and don't realize that. And once you explain that to them, more than half the battle is won. But there is a problem with, even in my industry, with kind of legacy systems that we build almost all of our own technology in-house, so we are able to be pretty nimble. But there are a lot of companies who are using third-party products that they were never designed to support Bitcoin or something like it. So so you do have to tweak them in a way that'll work for your business, and that's a legitimate challenge. Hopefully, some of those systems will get in line and
catch up.
Yeah,
they won't have a choice. Their competitors will, and they'll have to as well. So you say you keep a percentage in Bitcoin for a reserve. That's pretty cool. I wasn't aware of that. I think it always is. I appreciate that more whenever a company holds on to the Bitcoin. Why do y'all do that, and have y'all thought about closing the loop and maybe paying some people part of people's salary if they're interested, or paying for contractors with Bitcoin?
We'd love to pay for things in Bitcoin. We tried. We buy a lot of servers from Dell, and we were real excited when we can't really pay employees in Bitcoin, at least as far as I know. Maybe it's just my ignorance, but with all the the tax implications, and it would be messy, and I don't know how we would do that. But as far as buying products, I'd love to buy things in Bitcoin. I can't say we have to date, because the last time we did a big server order, it was shortly after Dell started taking it, and we just couldn't get it to work on their side. It was they had just started taking it. It was buggy, so
There's a huge order on
your
first
day.
I
was real upset. I had to, finally, you have no idea how long I spent trying to get this to work.
Wow. That's cool.
But yeah, I absolutely kind of look forward to the day when we could pay our vendors in Bitcoin, and I'd love it if airlines would take. Our biggest, in terms of money going out, it's to the airlines, and if they would accept Bitcoin, then we wouldn't have to convert it to dollars. But yeah, we'll look for opportunities to use it when we can. We do have to be mindful of the currency fluctuation, and we have a low margin business, so we want to focus on our business and not focus on speculating on if Bitcoin's going to rise or fall. So, and I think it will be helpful for the currency. It's a young currency, and the price swings don't help it at all. If once it gets to a more stable price, I think a lot of people who are anxious about it will be less anxious, and I think a lot of companies, like ours, will be more willing to hang on to Bitcoin for a little bit longer.
For sure, and your companies like you accepting it help to stabilize it and create more consistency and more volume, which is a really big deal. So, if you could talk a little bit more about the process. I understand that you guys chose to use Coinbase, which it seems like a lot of the larger firms use Coinbase. Why did y'all choose Coinbase over BitPay, and what does it look like on the back end as far as how y'all actually receive in the Bitcoin? Did that take a whole lot of work? You said it only took 3 days, so it must not have been. Y'all must not have hit too many roadblocks.
It was pretty easy, and Coinbase. I have nothing to compare to because we haven't used any of those, but they're great. I can't say enough good things about them. Their support has been great. Once in a while when there's a glitch. But their website is real easy to use, and the integration, they have all these different ways you can integrate. We picked one of them that worked the best, and it's been pretty seamless. Every once in a while you have something with a refund where it's a little bit complicated, but like I said, they've been, if we've needed support from them, they've been there for us, and it's definitely as easy as accepting credit cards, and
Awesome.
Probably easier.
That's good to hear. Now, using one of your competitors last time around, we hit a pretty big hang up that had us not getting into our hotel till like 2 a.m. Thankfully, the kids were asleep in the back seat. But the customer service that we dealt with was pretty. One of the women was actually pretty nasty with Catherine, who was, frustrated, a little annoyed. But nonetheless, as a customer service agent, you got to stay calm and helpful. But none of them even had heard about Bitcoin and had no idea what was going on. Are you guys purposefully training the call reps and making sure everyone's on the same page using this new technology?
We are, and I mean, it is a challenge because not everyone fully understands Bitcoin. But I mean, I think the big difference between us and Expedia is that we have, our call center. It's all in one room.
Mm-hmm.
It's in the U.S. and people who, even if one of our newer travel advisors fields a call and might not be that familiar with Bitcoin, someone who really knows it is, within 10 feet of him or her at all times, and we keep our team very close and close knit. So I mean, help is always real close, and I mean, and I think that's the probably the difference between us and Expedia. I mean, I think from a hotel standpoint, our focus is on airfares. Most of our innovation is in airfares, frankly. We actually use Expedia's inventory for hotels. We're selling, when you book a hotel through us, it's actually on the back end being processed by Expedia. But I think we can support it better than they can, especially for Bitcoin users.
Yeah, and that makes a huge difference. It seems like there's this sweet spot in the size of a business whereby, sure, something may be becoming more successful, but it reaches a point often where it outgrows its ability to adequately and effectively handle the customers and the customer service. And you guys seem to be in a really nice spot where you can handle the volume and you can also handle the problems that may arise. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on the importance of that? And
well, I think we really do care about customer service, and I think we have, we're lucky to have really good people who care. I mean, so when you're talking to someone in our customer service team, I mean, they're genuinely trying to help you. And there are times if there's a storm and all the flights are canceled, where you will sit on hold a lot longer than we'd like you to. So we don't always get to the phones as fast as we can. You can never, that's the problem of being, not having a 200-person call center. But on the other hand, we want to make sure that when you do get us, you're going to get taken care of by someone who really wants to help. And that's, and that's what it is. When you talk to someone on the other line, no matter who you're calling or what kind of company, usually they can help you. It's just a question of, are they going to care enough to make the effort?
Sure. What is next for CheapAir? And do you guys have any new innovations?
Yeah,
I know you're already on the cutting edge, but what's next?
Well, we're in the process of rebuilding our entire website, actually, and hopefully by early next year we'll be done with it. I have to be honest. I look at our website now, the design of it, and we haven't redesigned it in a few years, and then I thought it was really cool 3 years ago. Now I kind of cringe. It's dated, and we also do a lot with corporate travel, and that's gotten most of our focus for the last year. But now we've really pivoted back to CheapAir, and we've got a lot of really cool things. We'll have a new site design. We're shooting for the end of the year, but realistically, we'll probably be a little bit late on that, a couple months longer. But I think it's gonna look a lot better. It's gonna have a lot of new features, and I mean, we want to be the best site to buy airline tickets, whether you're paying with Bitcoin or not. And we do a lot of really cool things on the back end to sort through deals and find low fares. But we think that the front end needs a little bit of an upgrade now.
Awesome. I guess I could have asked you this towards the beginning of the interview, but why are you so excited about Bitcoin to the point of evangelism of a sort? You're not here telling me how great it is. Your Visa payment processing is so awesome. It's phenomenal. I want to do a blog about it. Tell us what exactly is it about Bitcoin that makes it so exciting for you? And then if you could also speak to some of the stuff y'all are doing to promote Bitcoin. Like, you're supporting our trip. You also have the People of Bitcoin blog. Like, what is it that gets you so excited?
I mean, I think, first of all, I just think the technology is absolutely brilliant. And I think, I mean, it represents the best of what kind of the digital world has brought us. I mean, the ability to disintermediate when it makes sense. And we're an intermediary. And so we're always at risk of, we try to connect airlines with customers. And I'm painfully aware that we need to stay relevant, we have to provide value to the airlines and to the customers all the time. There are these big banks that have been sitting in the middle of our payments forever, and I don't think they feel very threatened by disintermediation, and I'd like them to be threatened, and I think Bitcoin is a real legitimate threat. And it besides the fees and the things I've talked about, just the how cumbersome it is, how impossible it is to verify identities and protect yourself from fraud. I mean, we have a customer will call up, a couple months after buying a ticket, some unscrupulous person, they decide they don't want to pay for their ticket. They tell their bank, "Oh, I never purchased this," and no problem, and they just bill us back for it, and they don't care. They don't have any incentive to try to serve both sides of the equation. So I'm happy to support anything that provides a little bit of a kick in the ass to them.
Nice, very nicely put. Can you tell us about the People of Bitcoin blog?
Yeah, it's something that I mean, kind of independent of what the value of Bitcoin to our business. I mean, I've just really been impressed with people that I've talked to from the Bitcoin community, and it's so different than the reputation. I mean, I've done interviews, and always I get the question of, well, aren't you selling to mostly criminals, and ridiculous questions like that. And I mean, like, it couldn't be more further from the truth. I mean, the people I talk to are really passionate about the promise of Bitcoin and how it can make a difference, and how the current financial system that has been corrupted by big banks and big government isn't working for the average citizen. And I think that whether I don't necessarily agree on every ideological point, although I agree on a lot of them, but they're very well. The Bitcoin community is filled with really well-intentioned people who are doing something really noble. So I mean, I want to, whatever I can do to help, I want to.
Awesome, great. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with us, and again, thank you for your support, and most importantly, thanks for being one of the pioneers out there. When it's still a new technology, it's still a lot of uncertainty in the air, but I think having a successful, well-known company like yours out there supporting Bitcoin, using it, and spreading the love about Bitcoin, I think it's going to go a long way to help adoption. So thanks a lot.
Thank you.
That was a great interview. Thank you so much for listening to the Uncoinventional Living podcast. I really enjoyed our time with Jeff Klee, and they have just been a very important service for us on the road. I also want to thank CheapAir for their sponsorship of our tour. We used them profusely on our Bitcoin tour out east when we headed from Texas to New Hampshire and back. And we reached out to them, and they appreciated the work that we did, and they decided to sponsor us and help us along our journey. So we strongly want to encourage people to check them out, visit their website, use them anytime you're booking a flight or hotel. They are true believers in the Bitcoin ecosystem, and they run a really awesome operation. The community service is absolutely excellent. So they definitely get 2 thumbs up. Now, for the magic word you've been waiting for. The magic word for today, you're going to have to work for a little bit. CheapAir is so into Bitcoin, they do a little blog called People of Bitcoin. So the magic word for today is the November. Who is the November person that they spotlighted on their People of Bitcoin blog? I'll give you a hint. They named him the Inspirator. There's another hint in there too. It's a man. They named him the Inspirator, and he is our magic word for today. People of Bitcoin, the Inspirator. Now you can find their blog by visiting uncoinventional.com, uncoinventional.com, our website. Scroll to the right, and you'll see our sponsors. And underneath the cheapair.com logo, you'll see a link to their People of Bitcoin blog. Once you get to the People of Bitcoin blog, find who their November person is they spotlighted. The title of the post is People of Bitcoin, the Inspirator. And that person is the magic word, his name, with no caps. I'll give you another hint. It's 4 letters for the first word and 4 letters for the last name. 4 letters for the first name, 4 letters for the last name. Well, hope you enjoyed the interview. Again, a big shout out to CheapAir.com. Use them, use your Bitcoin, further the ecosystem. Peace, love, Bitcoin. John Bush signing out.